I'm sure you were expecting to hear the voice of a beautiful elf or a wise wizard, so they could spin you a tale of gold and ancient evils. But that is not this story. No, this is a story of four friends that call Middle-earth home. A dwarf of the line of Durin's kin, who is obsessed with knowledge instead of gold. An elf of Rivendell, sworn to serve and protect the descendants of a once great house. A banished dwarf, seeking glory and proof that there is more to life than what lies under a mountain. And a hobbit of the Shire, who collects treasures of the smallest kind. Together, with their strength, wits, and heart, they will face the growing shadows of the East, bringing light where there is darkness.
But you see it again move in ways that a shadow shouldn't move. As you draw your attention towards this, you see that this person thing moves as quietly as you. Not a single twig cracks, a leaf bends, nothing. And you realize as you sort of muse over this silent person that you may have seen this person before. Your memory casts back about 4.5 weeks ago as you traveled via horseback to find a little hobbit strapped to the leg of a galloping troll. And you passed by but did not stop to see a humanoid figure passing through the mists. And it's something about the way this person moves, something about their gait. You recognize this as the same person. As they get closer, you can see just enough of their face that you recognize this person. This is another ranger of the north.
Well, I'm certain that would be delightful. I'm currently looking for someone. And he's going to go into the satchel and pull out a wanted poster. I need to find...
I made that. I put them posters up. You found one.
Then I need to find you.
Do you have a name, good sir?
Yildrick Blackforge.
Oh, Owl's beard. I know you.
Most likely from shameful stories, no doubt, but I promise that...
Look, I got a whole page in my book right here, dedicated to you. You're the reason I shaved my beard. You're like me hero. Oh, can we get some extra drinks over here? Willie, you got to meet, I found him. Do you know who this is?
You might want to keep it down. He's looking at you.
What did he do to you, though?
He tried to recruit me. He has made it his duty to acquire dishonored and exiled dwarves among his number. For what purpose, I do not know. But to see my kin used in such a way, if there might be some measure of glory, some measure of redemption that I could find amongst my kin in the Misty Mountain, I believe that I could acquire it by bringing them. Or
There have been dark stirrings recently, growing since the death of Smaug, the restoration of Erebor. It had been kept to the eastern side of the Misty Mountains, but something has returned here to these lands. I'm not entirely sure what it is, what's moving in the shadows, what hides in the darkness, but I'm not the only one who has sensed it clearly. And so we have called a moot with the other rangers of the north, or at least as much of them as we could get in such a short time. As I said, we are meeting at the Watchtower of Amansul to discuss what should happen, how best to handle this, to compare notes. And I do believe that your companion Orphan will be in attendance. I assume he is on his way there now, if not there already. I would advise you to burn the map, forget its location, and to tread carefully. I knew Timaeus well. I watched Timaeus whenever I could spare an eye. Several of us had. He was troubled. He fell in with a troubled lot. And I would be careful.
What does this map lead to? Might I see it?
Barrows. Oh yeah, sure. I can give you all the details. So it's map, but around the edges of the map in the north, south, east, west corner are some dwarvish. Come to find out, it was smoke letters, and it's written in the old Moria tongue. And what we found out was basically it led us to the Black Barrows, to this old tomb where we encountered Gror. And then we got locked in the tomb for a little bit. Then we kind of escaped it. We found some treasure, lots of it. And we did find out that it is said that the tomb is part of maybe an old ancient... Oh, no, it's a lord from an ancient northern kingdom. So this ruin it was on was a lord from an old ancient northern kingdom. But everything there in the barrows is sunk down except for the throne and the tomb barrows that we entered. So, we're not really looking to go back. It's not an easy trek through the marshes.
This is where they're doing their work. This is where they're looking.
And to the north of Bree.
Yes.
So what, he's just sending out his lackeys to go and dig up every tomb he can find?
He wants this treasure, and he cannot have it.
And as you and Elvernet sort of look around the room, you see that for the first time in arguably weeks, your group has the least amount of attention. And whoever that shadowy figure that Elvernet was talking to has gotten up from their chair and is walking across the bar. Every single eye, and now yours, fall on this person as she quietly walks across the tavern directly at the two of you. She places her hands down on the table and she says, if the four of you plan to keep shouting about the goings-on of your little company and who you plan to hunt down and who you plan to kill, perhaps someone will take notice.
Okay, well, I'm Glowfrom. It's nice to meet you.
I've heard. We've all heard. I'm
You
sure
are?
that Chetwood has heard.
Well, I ain't got nothing to hide. Do you?
There is plenty of hot things to hide, Glowfrom.
I meant no insult, Master Dwarf. You are being loud. That is true. Bree and the surrounding Bree lands have eyes and ears. What you're discussing may make you more enemies than this. And she points to the wanted poster that's on the table. This Gror. You don't know
Well-
who's here, you don't know who's around you, and you may end up in deeper trouble than you already are in.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but we ain't got nowhere else to go. You got a better place for us to discuss it?
No. What I have is a tip. Rather than head out into the wilderness and stumble your way into who knows what, I suggest you head east. There's a place just off the Greenway called the Forsaken Inn. You may have heard of it.
Yeah,
it is
I know of that place. I don't go very often.
No one does if they can avoid it. There is a man named Malor. He's a ranger of the north, like myself. He may be of assistance to you.
Huh.
I don't know your... And she picks it up, the wanted poster. I think you spelled his name incorrect.
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, and it's not like I really want to say you're wrong, but I want to correct you on that. That is, in fact, Gror. His brother Gron was found dead in a tomb in the middle of, the Midwater Marshes. Little barrow down, got buried down, you know what I mean?
She reaches across, as you say, Midwater Marshes, in a barrow, and she puts a finger on your mouth.
You'll be removing that.
Things are best left unsaid. Speak to Malor. If his brother is dead and he has returned, then Gorlake has returned.
Maybe it was her finger on me lips, but I'm feeling real saucy about hitting the road.
I could do with some violence.
So maybe, like, in daylight, we can, pitter-patter out of town for a bit, go find, this terribly nice, not mysterious at all, or kind of worrisome fella hiding at a place called the Forsaken Inn.
Sounds like a plan.
Yes.
Drinks on me.
Oh, please tell me we can keep him.
Arise, minions, and welcome to unMadeGaming. We are here. We are ready. We are doing something a little different today. This is a backstory one-shot starring our newest cast member and character, Noir, and his character, Yoldrick. But if you like what we do here and you want to support the channel, the best way to do that is over on our Patreon. A link for that down in the description below. Join us at the $5 tier. You get access to the after show for this show and all other shows for the past 3 years. As well as some prep streams at the $10 tier. And while you're down there clicking on that link, join us in the Discord. Click on that link, join us over there, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation. And as always, in the bottom right-hand corner, you will see the corruption bar. That bar serves two purposes. One is when that bar fills, I do horrible, terrible things. And two, every single dollar that goes into that bar goes back to the cast and helps to keep some lights on and stuff. I will say, as a little asterisk, a little caveat here, the corruption bar tonight will not go towards this episode because this happened in the past and I can't do too much corruption on things that are already happened. However, I will carry that over in my notes to the next episode and just unleash chaos on an unsuspecting cast of players who don't know what they're in for. That being said, you're filled in. You know who Yoldrick is. You know who Noir is. Let's jump in. A bearded Yoldrick walks the halls of Erebor. Craftsmen and miners wander hither and yon as he surveys the area around him, taking in the great city, its restoration underway. The sound of singing collides with the hammer blows and pick falls to form a perfect tonal resonance that makes up the sound of the beating heart of the mountain. Yoldrick, what are you doing? Where are you going? Who do you see? What's your life about here in Erebor?
For the most part, it's drinking and talking about past glories, previous victories, that sort of deal.
Okay.
He's always been one to like lift everyone's spirits by regaling them with stories and song.
Okay. So as you walk through these high halls, side note, the halls are always so high in a dwarven society in every depiction of them. Why? They're 4 feet tall. Why build 80-foot high chasms? Why do that? But nonetheless,
looking at a low ceiling all day is depressing.
Yeah, but imagine having to scale up there like a telephone jockey trying to climb up just to chisel the roof away. It just seems exhausting. It seems exhausting for anyway. You walk these high halls, these passways, you see markets, you see the homes that people live in carved into the side of the mountain itself. Where does this day find you? Where are you going?
I think it's never too early to go to the tavern to see about finding some friendly faces, or at least getting the bartender warmed up for the day.
I like that. Yeah, absolutely. You head towards the tavern. You are in the upper halls. The upper halls of Erebor, as you well know, of course, are the largest and most impressive halls in Erebor. That is where the king's seat is. That is where the front gate is. So much that we see in, for instance, the Hobbit movie. That is the upper halls, right? So you kind of meander through the upper halls looking for a tavern of convenience, a tavern of ill repute, or a tavern that you prefer over all others. You tell me.
Oh, we're going for ill repute for sure.
Okay. So you wend your way through the high halls, the upper halls, and you begin to head down into the lower halls. The lower halls are where the forges are. This is where the smithing happens. This is where everyone is covered in soot and dirt and grime and sweat. The air here is thick and stagnant and has like its own level of humidity between the fires and the constant sweating of dwarves. And you make your way through here. And you find a a less than reputable tavern called the Anvil and Chisel. Perhaps that's a euphemism in Dwarven. We're not sure as the audience. But you head there, and you see, unlike the grand halls of the upper area, this is a far more of a squat structure here. The building has a facade that is built directly into the side of the mountain, almost like a bas relief, right? You see this glass panes in the windows, wrought iron, crisscross on there. You see someone is drunk, passed out next to a trough. Over there was a goat is drinking out of the trough and also peeing on the guy. And you walk inside this tavern, and there is a mishmash of missing chairs that have been replaced by barrels. And you see a pile of what anyone would think of as lumber in the corner, but full well is the shattered remnants of chairs that once were, and some tables as well. And you see a gruff, one-eyed dwarf. He has a huge, unkempt, like mountain man, bushy beard. It's never seen a comb. And he is covered in head to toe in grit and grime, as though he was working a forge, but more likely that the last time his beard saw a comb was the same time his body saw a shower. And he sort of stands behind the bar there, and he picks up a pewter goblet, and you see him like eyeball it, and spits inside of it and begins to wipe out the remnants of what was worse than his spit, apparently. He looks to you and says, "Oi, what can I get for you? What can I get for you?"
I need something that'll put me right on my ass while I tell everybody in this fine establishment tales of glory, victory, and triumph.
Tales of glory, eh? He leans back, puts his foot on something, and you hear that wood on wood scraping. As you see, the front of the bar is just a series of like bar aprons, and he kicks out basically it's an apple box. He kicks out a big like crate towards you. "Get on stage then." And he begins to pull down a series of brown and green bottles that you can see has liquid, but what they are, you're not sure. And he begins to pour some kind of concoction that hisses and smells like burning. But he kicks a box to you and tells you to get on stage.
I immediately hop on the box. "Lo and welcome, everyone. I am Yoldric Blackforge, son of Dolvik Blackforge, and I have stories to tell. How about the time I encountered trolls alongside my brother Dolvik? Yes, we were just scampering outside the mountains, scouting. And lo and behold, two massive humanoid figures, muscles as thick as copper veins." And he's just going to keep going about, and it's clearly like lies. He brings down his massive club, I was able to backflip just in time and throw my mighty axe and cleave his head from his shoulders before my feet touched the ground.
Your voice echoes through this tavern, right? You see people start to turn towards you. Any snoring stops. Any fighting. Like, you see, like, two dwarves, one's holding one by the beard. One is, like, mid-punch, and they both stop to pay attention to your story. The light of the fire in the hearth hits in just the right way that your shadow is cast on the wall, and it seems larger than life, and it almost takes on the fighting form of a troll, and your shadow has that like almost shadow puppetry. Like, as you raise your arms, one of your arms becomes a dwarf in the shadow, and it punches a troll in the face. Everything is incredibly cinematic, and as you complete your tale of of epic troll mayhem, the crowd, which seems to have grown, doubled if not tripled in size inside this tavern. They're spilling out into the streets, cheer and clap, and chant words that may, perhaps Yoldrick wouldn't ascribe to himself, but words like hero and champion, savior. Maybe not something you'd call yourself, but
No, never.
who are you to say what the common man may or may not call you? The bartender, he lifts up the flap on the bar and comes out there, and he has this pewter flagon, which you're not sure if it's the same one that he was cleaning before, as it were, but it is bubbling and fizzing, like the alchemical aquifers of the levels below that are cleaning the gold and gems of the like finer materials. And he hands it to you, and it's like frothing over the top. And as soon as you smell it, it smells like burning hair. But you asked for something that was going to knock you on your ass, and he hands it to you, but he hands it to you and sort of like bows down as if handing a goblet to a king, and he takes a step back away and he says, "You came here to tell stories and drink you shall, on the house, forever, for now and all days."
Immediately
Hero.
just scold this drink.
Hero. And he starts to like stoke the crowd that this Yoldrick is a hero of the common man, as it were. Are you casually sipping this drink like a fine whiskey, or are you just shooting this down?
I'm just gonna yell, "It smells strong, but nothing as strong as dwarven blood!" And then I just skull this thing.
Yeah, I love that. You take this tankard down. No one has chugged a liquid of any kind, really, as impressively as Yoldrick Blackforge has done just this moment. And if the cheers could get any louder, they have. As you take this down, it tastes like it smells. It tastes like someone has lit your esophagus and internal organs on fire, and then made that liquid and fed it back to you. Is kind of what it tastes like. It tastes like somebody put out a dozen cigars in your mouth. It is enough to knock you on your ass.
It's like making out with a chain smoker. It's gross.
Yeah. Except it gets you drunk. Is what happens here. So you take this down. People are cheering your name. The crowd has spilled out into the halls itself. You now have free drinks in perpetuity here inside the Anvil and Chisel. Where is your next stop? Where is your next stop on this impressive train of heroism?
I think after that I need to go and check on the family a bit. So I told the story of me and my brother Dovik. So I think I'll go see him. Dovid.
Okay, fantastic. You leave here. The cheers, the throngs of people are grabbing you, trying to steal a piece of your chainmail just to have something to hold on to this great hero. You make your way through this crowd and you begin to head back towards the upper halls to see family, to check in on them. Your brother's also a hero. He should get some recognition as well.
Yeah.
You begin to hear. Actually, you know what? Let's fuck around and have a roll here. Why not?
And I just put part of the full 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 in check just in case.
I will. Yeah, no, I have your notes. Don't you worry. I got you. I will let you choose. Roll me either a craft or a scan.
Ooh, that's a choice. A craft or a scan?
Yeah.
Crap, I'm equally. No, I'm better at scanning.
So you got 2 in craft, but you have advantage basically. So you roll and take the higher. Scan you have 3 in. So.
All right, I'll do craft.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great success. That is perfect. A great
roll
success.
It again, I believe.
It does it automatically for you. It does it all. It
Oh,
does it all right in there
nice.
for you. Yeah, it's a
Yes.
very, very unique and cool character sheet here. Fantastic. You leave this tavern. You begin to head towards those upper halls, and that noise, right? The beating heart of Erebor is like you get the tink 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 tink. You have the bellows are sort of like blowing out fire. You hear the resonance singing in some of the chambers lower. As you walk, kind of the shouting and chanting sort of blends in to this song, right? The song of Erebor that just sort of thrums at a constant pace throughout the city, whether day or night. You walk, and it's like every dwarf has at least some forge time, right? Like everyone knows how to craft something. It's in your blood, it's in your bones. And there's always that new sensation when you're the new guy on the line, or when it's your first time at the anvil, that you just don't quite hit you got the white guy rhythm when everyone else claps and you're a half second off, right? You hear that like that tonal dissonance of like this bow 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 ting, like that.
Hmm.
That didn't sound right. Um,
Yeah.
and you continue to hear this, and it sticks in the back of your head. You're hearing this like low, hollow noise, as if someone like clanged on a pipe, almost, right? Like an organ. And it begins to rise from somewhere. You look around. There's no one you can see is making the sound. None of the forges you think have something that is like a big hollow tube, right? That would make that sound. Um, and this, as you walk from the lower halls towards the upper halls, you of course pass through the heart of the deeps. The heart of the deeps is the large central shaft that runs through all of Erebor. Walkways crisscross and spider throughout this thing down the various levels. As you get past the lower depths, these end in like dungeons. They end in mine shafts. They end in all kinds of things that go down, 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 down. That's kind of the main point of Erebor. This sound seems to be rising from the deeps. It seems to be rising from the heart of the deeps. Slowly, there rises a low tonal dissonance behind the thrum of music. It crescendos into a discordant note, forceful, triumphant, and conquering. Like the first notes of discord sung by the first enemy, this new percussive beat rattles the very foundations of the mountain. And as you look for its source, the camera pans over the heart of the deeps, with its many great spans of stone stretching between various dig sites, and there in its furthest reaches, a dim red light glows and grows brighter. You sense something is coming from the heart of the deeps. What do you do?
I think the first thing that he feels is excitement. Um, there's fear in him, and that's great because he's raring to go for a fight. So I think he's gonna try and follow the sound.
Okay. You head over. You head over to the to basically the large central shaft, right? You can, from where you are, any of the levels can access this central chamber. And as you look down, you see that it looks like you're staring into the dying embers of a fire, but way down, 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 hundreds and hundreds of feet down, past what you know is the lowest mine that they have started to rebuild, right? A lot of the mines, due to either fleeing, due to fire damage, due to the presence of a dragon, have been, let's say, corrupted. Some of the stone has gone weak and weary and crumbled, and not all the old passages are accessible, but we're slowly, layer by layer, opening up the old passages, finding the old mines. And you know the lowest one that the dwarves of Erebor have started to rebuild, this fire is lower. Or this ember, this red glow, is deeper. It's deeper than the deepest.
Hmm. I think with that, he's gonna just have his axe in hand as he walks, but he is gonna go find his brother, because if this feels like a fight's coming, and if he's gonna fight, then he's gotta have his brother with him.
Absolutely, absolutely. You grip your axe and begin to make your way across the span towards the staircases that spiral up towards the upper halls, and you can hear that that discordant sound that doesn't. It's too something. It's too tinny. It's too bassy. It's too offbeat. Whatever it is, it's just wrong for the sound of the song of this mountain. It grows, it grows, it grows, it grows until it takes over the sound of the mountain. And it's almost like when you charged into battle in the Battle of the Five Armies, when you faced off against wargs and orcs, that thrumming of your own heartbeat in your ears as your blood pumps too fast, the adrenaline kicks in too much. That's what this starts coming as. You hear it all around you, in your head, you feel it in your body as you quickly make your way across the span towards those stairs. You see no one else around you seems to react to this. You're the only one that seems to see if anything is amiss.
Yeah, as he's walking, he is gonna kind of look like strangely at people. Like,
You
there's
get
no,
you
there's
get
no one else
equally
hear
strange
this.
looks back.
Yeah, he's just gonna yell out, "Does no one else hear this?"
You see a handful of dwarves like cock their head and look at you. There's like a whisper between a few of them at a forge, and they look back to you, and they like point to you, not as a like, look at this fucking guy, but more like a hey, are you okay? And you see their mouths move, but no sound is produced over the cacophony of whatever this sound is growing from the heart of the deeps.
I just I just kind of push whoever's talking to me away and go, "How can no one hear? There's something wrong with the mountain. It's calling out," and he's just gonna like continue towards his brother.
Yeah. This old white-haired dwarf stumbles kind of back from you. You can see that he's like fairly burly in that of a dwarf, as like a probably like the senior most or the owner of the forge you're in front of. He stumbles back, and two of his forge mates sort of grab onto him and steady him as you push past him towards those stairs. That noise is following you the entire time as you wend your way up these spiral stairs, and every time you spiral back facing the shaft, the light seems to be, it's hard to tell, but either brighter or closer. Either way, it's concerning. Every time you spiral back, every time you zigzag back across the stairs, you see this glow is higher in the shaft. It's higher up this central chamber, or brighter, one of the two.
Man, like I think he's getting a little frantic now. It's just like no one else can hear this but me. I need to get to someone I trust to make sure that there's nothing wrong with me. I think he will do a quick check on himself to see if like is there something wrong with me.
Yeah, you kind of do like a pat down. You don't feel, there's no bruises. You move your hand. There's no blood. There's nothing coming out of your ears, your eyes, your nose. All of your fluids seem to be in your body. The only thing, actually, you know what? Roll me. Let's do another roll because why not? We're playing an RPG.
Yeah.
Roll me. I was gonna say insight, but that's just a hot doo-doo garbage number for you. Um, Yikes.
So is healing.
Yeah. Roll me riddle. That's like the figuring things out
Ooh.
option here.
Yeah. Ba-doo.
Awesome. So that is a failure. With an Eye of Sauron. The only thing that is different about anything you've done today right? Obviously, people worship you as a hero. Obviously, your stories are 10 out of 10 in the tavern. The only thing different is the strange concoction you drank just a few minutes ago.
Mm. I think at that he stops and laughs, and like it's like a hearty bellowing that could probably be heard for a while. And he's just gonna go, "Oh, I'm off my ass right now. Okay, that makes sense. All right, it's gonna put the axe back in the frog. He's still making his way to Dovin, but now he's holding on to this explanation to keep him calm.
Okay. You far more casually take these stairs, now one at a time, no axe in hand, laughing to yourself, muttering at the humor of the situation, thinking back at how I have to apologize to that one guy that I shoved.
Yeah.
But you make your way to the upper halls, and something here too is amiss. The reaction you wanted in the lower halls is the reaction you get when you arrive in the upper halls. You see that dwarves are running, guards are grabbing their axes off the posts, people are jamming helmets on. You see that there are both men and women are kissing loved ones and children, putting them back in houses as they are helmeting, grabbing an axe, grabbing a shield off the ground. It looks as though, from what you can tell, this has the same feeling here in the upper halls as the day that Smaug arrived. Everyone is rushing to battle. Everyone is moving to arms in a way that you haven't seen in a long time. The last time you saw anything like this is when Dane Ironfoot II marched from the Iron Hills here to Erebor to help his cousin. A march that you did with him. But you see this, everyone helmeting, armor, throwing armor piecemeal on, locking breastplates into place, like half on, half off, as they are clamoring to fight some unseen foe.
I'm gonna try and grab one of the soldiers that's getting ready to go off and ask, what foe demands this sort of response from us?
You grab this young dwarf in his early 40s, pull him in, and you ask this. Yeah, it's just a baby. He's just a child. He's barely out of diapers. You ask this question, and he looks to you, and without any shadow of a doubt, there is fear. There is fear and sweat on his face as he tries to buckle several of the buckles on his breastplate. And he frantically points back in the direction in which you came, and you can see that he is shouting something, but nothing he says can you hear other than that boom, boom, boom coming from below.
Good enough for me. Take out the axe and I'm heading towards the banging.
Okay,
Let's fight.
You run back the direction you came, 3-4 stairs at a time, as many as your little legs can leap safely in whatever you're wearing.
Little but thick.
Trunks, stout trunks, as you bound back to the lower halls. The light, this red glow, has now reached the lower halls. And by that I mean, if the fire has risen that high, the flames, the tongues of the flame are licking the ceiling above. And you see this sound is coming from within this hole. And you see that there is something moving. It's maybe 100 feet down. If you look down there, it's like staring into the sun. It's hard to see with the amount of light, this red and orange and black glow that is coming from up there. But you can tell with a glance or shielding your eyes that several, if not all, of the spans that cross this area are gone. Anyone on those lower levels, the chances of them making it out of there alive now is slim to none. whatever this thing is here. And no one seems to know how to react to this.
As I see a bunch of people scurrying, I think he's going to do what he does, which is no victory was ever won with panic. Find your resolve, fall in line, and join me. Together, we can keep our home safe, but we must be united. And he's just going to try, just raise his axe to try to get everybody to, if we're gonna do this thing, we're gonna do it right.
Roll me and hearten.
All right. Oh, that's one of my checkmark ones.
Yeah, it's one of your favorite skills.
Success.
Perfect. You bellow out this command, right? The speech of a champion, right? The speech of a commander, someone who's led forces in battle. You try to rally them to your banner, and you see you call this out. You hear your words, you hear them in your head, you hear them around you. You see several people, a dozen or so, stop and sort of look to you with a level of reverence as they sort of find their resolve, right? They find that stone that binds them to the mountain. And they do their axe is hefted higher. They're easily adjusting their armor. Their shields get pulled on tighter. A strap is adjusted. These dozen or so combatants are entranced by your aura and ready to fight. And that's when you see it. A hand, this easily the size of 2 or 3 dwarves wide, on the top of this central shaft, the heart of the deeps, pulls itself up. And you see a forearm that is easily larger than any of the trunks of trees in the Iron Hills that you are aware of, as this thing pulls itself towards another hand, pulls itself towards these depths, as if whatever this creature is was scaling the inside of the heart of the deeps. You see horns gnarled, bent and spiraled more than the oldest mountain goat you've seen protrude out of this thing, and the flames just lick off of whatever this body is. This thing is hard to look at. It's almost like seeing an eclipse. The body is wreathed in shadow, and the shadow is wreathed in flame as this form begins to slowly pull itself up. You see a head that is, at least in your recollection, the size of Smaug's, staring you, cold, black, burning eyes just staring at you as its long, snouted, fanged mouth protrudes above the hole onto the lower halls. What do you do?
I think there is that moment where he understands this is probably not a fight that he's gonna win, but grips his axe, and he calls out for everyone to hold the line until we can evacuate. And he's gonna point out a few people. You. Make sure that we're getting people out of the mountain. This is no longer a fight to beat whatever this is. This is a fight to hold it off so that we can save as many lives as possible.
You point out, the right arm comes. They are piles of ash, gone in a swipe. This thing plants its armpit and elbow up and begins to pull itself up to its full height into the halls. And now perhaps it's that moment where you wish the dwarves had lower hall ceilings, as this thing rises to the full 80 feet and fills this thing with its presence. You see almost like cascading mist of shadow just sort of falling on this thing constantly, like spirals of mist as you walk through fog, but falling off this thing, flames licking higher and higher from this thing as you see its vaguely humanoid form standing in front of you, its arms slightly longer, almost bestial, its hands down towards its knees, lower than they should be on either man, elf, or dwarf. It's sort of hunched at its back, and you see that it's heaving as it breathes.
Just gonna kiss the axe head and whisper, "Let me die better than my fathers." And I charge.
Fantastic. Roll me an attack.
All right, let's do the thing. Ooh, how do I roll it?
On the bottom of your character sheet, right next to fell long-hafted axe, there should be a little roll button there.
There you go. Yeah.
Extraordinary. 2 successes. Fan-freaking-tastic. That is 2 6s you rolled on this attack. So, describe to me how Yoldrick launches into the battle. And because this is the first time we've seen it in combat and on screen, really, describe your familial axe, this heirloom weapon you carry.
I'm so glad that you asked.
Oh, God. As Noir dips off screen to pull up the 3D printed axe he is.
It looks a little something like this.
Absolutely. I love that.
So yeah, he's going to I'm gonna make this cinematic because screw it, it's my backstory episode.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say he knows the forge, so he runs to one of the many pulleys there, chops the rope to get a little bit of elevation, and just cuts this thing in the face.
Yeah.
Not enough to kill it, but it will remember him.
Yeah. Which, is for better or worse, regardless of what happens here. So yeah, you do that, right? You do the classic chandelier, the dwarven style. The chain like spins around its spool as you hear the clanking of the chain as you ride up the top of this thing with enough momentum to leap off, double hand the axe overhead into the face of this creature. You do. Right between its eye and its snout, you dig into its face with enough force that your axe head is buried in this thing, and you are hanging on as this thing, the flames and shadow just sort of leap and dance off this thing. People run in fear as you see, not sure where it came from, but you see this large whip just sort of and like blow out several of the pillars that exist in this hall as this thing bellows. There is a moment where you can see the right side where you are, its black, soulless eye. No eyeball, no retina, no nothing. You just see this deep black pit. And as you hold on to your axe, either trying to figure out foot placement so you can pull this thing out, or whether it's worth it to let this thing go, there is a moment where you are looking into this seemingly cavernous eye, and you are drawn in, almost as if hypnotic, almost as if the song of an elf, right? The song of Alma and her family that has drawn you in before to the world of elves, a forbidden world to dwarves, especially on this side of the world. And you are pulled into this, and you hear that boom, 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 that discordant sound. Again, it's overtaken everything here in Erebor. The sound of the Song of the Mountain has all but stopped now. The only sound is this discordant note. And you are pulled in, at least mentally, towards this eye. And interposed between that boom in the blank spaces of this cacophony of sound, you see flashes. You see images of dwarves burning, dwarves being strung up. You see dwarves being like put into like machines, some sort of like torture devices or something. You've never seen a device or construction like this. You see that they are being packed with mud and dirt and stabbed and pierced and bound with metal. And you see that there are these large creatures that are doing this to them. You see more creatures like whatever this is, whatever this flaming shadow is, and you feel a dark presence watching you the entire time. And as you look around for the source of this, you see maybe about 200 feet away in this mental projection you're feeling, in this shadow of an ocular hole, you see a darker, if at all possible, a Vanta black shadow, wreathed in a tinge of white, a human shape, great spiked helm, a great mace beside it. And you see this figure walking step by step towards you, getting closer and closer and closer. And though you can't make out any features, you know whatever you're facing right now, this creature from the depths of Erebor, this man, elf, you're not sure, the height doesn't quite give it away, but it's definitely not a dwarf, is by far the worst thing you've ever faced. And when you realize that, you wake up in a cold sweat in your bed.
First thing he does is like he's reaching for the axe, and it's just like he has it in his hands as he's like in bed still.
You are everything in your home is as it should be. So if you're alone, you're alone. But if you you got someone around, you tell us. But as everything is as it was when you last went to sleep.
Boy, I think yeah, he's just gonna be pacing around for a couple of minutes, trying to get himself together. He doesn't really have nightmares. He loves fighting and can't even imagine conjuring up something he wouldn't want to fight. But
and there's that lingering sense of like that moment where you wake up and you doubt if that was a dream or if you are in fact awake, if this is the dream or if that was the dream, right? That very mescaline feeling. And you can still feel the hairs on the back of your neck are risen. You can still feel the heat on your skin as if you just were standing next to a forge. You still feel that like that muscle tension in your hands from gripping something so tight that when you deflex your hands, you feel that like that tension release, that like almost the contraction of the muscles in your fingers. Everything feels tight, like you were just in combat.
I think he needs to get out of the mountain. So if it's okay, I think he's gonna try and reach out to his friend Alma.
Okay.
So yeah, he's just gonna head out of the mountain and into the forest. Just
now.
Mm-hmm.
I will clarify this with you. This is all above table here. The elves of this area would be the elves of Mirkwood. They would be followers of Thranduil, which is not directly next to the mountain. Is Alma a traveler, a wanderer? Is she prone to stick around the mountain? Is she prone to stick around Dale?
She is very much a wanderer. I would say her favorite part of her ranger area is close to the mountain.
Okay,
cool. Which is how they ended up being friends.
Cool. Yeah, so I would say that yeah, she's probably in essence a spy. She is more than likely sent here by the Council of Thranduil to just keep an eye on the dwarves. Yeah. When left to your own devices, you guys, dig up
Fighting
ancient
hard.
ruins and find the Arkenstone and summon dragons and shit. So you
Oh,
know,
that against us
yeah,
forever.
yeah, yeah. You know, I mean, the oldest of dwarves will hold it against you that your entire race was secretly created in the shadow by a by a rogue angel. So so yeah, you everything is as it should be in Erebor. You walk out of your room, your house, your domicile of sorts, and you hear that ting, the singing. You hear the thrumming. You hear everything about the song of the mountain is as it should be. And there's almost a second where you pause and just listen for that discordant note, that one wrong sound, and nothing. Almost like a sigh of relief as you make your way towards the Great Hall doors. Um, the Great Hall opens up into a very disused, or so the main doors open up into a very disused, almost like a marketplace. Um, whether to your liking or not, Dane uh, has kept the mountain itself very closely guarded. Um, there is whisper that perhaps he also has the dragon sickness. Perhaps he has been affected by the Arkenstone, though he does not actually hold the Arkenstone. Um, but there is no entrance into Erebor. There is no, unless on official business. It is very like the Emerald City, right? There is no one gets in. There's no casual trading without a permit, or unless the King of Dale, like King Bard, has sent you personally. It is very difficult for people to get in here, and thus the markets out front are in a lot of disuse because there just isn't a thriving market. Trade is very restricted right now as they are being rebuilt, both for the restoration process, but also because Dane is not the true king under the mountain, and he is afraid of losing his position. Essentially, anything could happen. An errant elf could come in. Some wily humans, God forbid, another hobbit, makes their way into here and just fucks shit up. Um, so you head out into what is essentially just barely rebuilt ruins outside in the area where the human towns used to be. As you head down towards the forest, um, the forest close to the Lonely Mountain are not. Um, they're fairly normal deciduous forests. Nothing terrifying about them. For those of you who know the lore, the shadow hasn't reached this far yet. They are quiet because it has only been a few years since the dragon left, so not all of the creatures and flora and fauna have returned to the mountain. But you know the areas that you can find Alma.
Yeah. So I'm just making my way there, and I think enjoying not hearing the song of the mountain right now, because there's always gonna be that part that listens for the discordant note.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Are you heading directly towards her, or are you just sort of languishing in the forest?
Well, I'd imagine that he can't directly find her. It's more
Mhm.
he goes to the mountain and then he ends up on the other side of an arrow, and it's
Yeah.
just like, "Hi, good to see."
Yeah. So you head in a direction where you know you'll eventually be set upon. So you head into the forest, and it's almost comical. You start to notice it after a while. You're not sure how long it had been happening. But the crunch of your boots on the forest floor is too crunchy. It's almost too loud. And as you realize that and sort of maybe spin, you see that walking almost perfectly in your own like boot prints on the same broken things as you, in tandem with you, is this 6 foot tall, elegant, live elf who was just sort of Pink Panthering you as a bit Um, and as as you round on her, she just smiles at you.
Was it at least harder this time?
Oh no,
Okay.
no. Everything about you, from your breath to your what you're wearing to the jingle of that axe to the boots. Are the boots? Are they all? Is everything you wear metal from head to toe? Is that necessary?
With a fine mixture of leather, yes.
Mm. Okay, well then, no, it'll never be difficult to find you. Um, I
But
could
it would
probably
it
hear you from leagues away.
well, I suppose that I'll have to sacrifice being stealthy with being hard to kill.
All right, if you say so. Yeah, I believe that you. I believe. You know what? And she like, there's to any other dwarf, it would be condescending. But she sort of half squats and puts a hand on your shoulder and says, "I believe you would be incredibly difficult to kill for any other dwarf."
Uh it's good to see you, Alma.
You as well, friend. What brings you? I haven't seen you in quite some time.
Quite some time. I could use counsel from someone that is not my kin.
Okay. I don't know
The,
if I like how you said that.
the I understand that you and yours have a relationship with the forest. You can hear its song, which makes it so easy for you to find me, and that is very much the relation that we have with our mountain. And I had a dream, but it was more than that. And the song of the mountain was wrong and corrupted. And the new song heralded the arrival of a creature that I had never seen, one capable of destruction, the likes of which I've only ever encountered with smog. And when I struck the beast, I looked into its eyes, and I saw not a man, one of you tall folk in vicious armor. Those maliciousness, clad in armor, hatred given form, and I lust for battle, but I never want to cross blades with whatever this was. And I woke up and I am aware that this was a dream, but it wasn't. And should I tell my kin any of this, they would think that I am quite mad, but I hope that there might be some insight that you and your people might have into things of this nature.
Yodrick, describe describe the being you saw. You said a being of pure malice. What was it? Only a feeling?
A silhouette of a large man or elf. The metal work was intricate, more intricate than anything that I have seen. Fine craftsmanship, and it was darker than dark, but outlined in light. Spiky, jagged edges in the armor.
What I'm about to tell you is only to inform your own decision. What I say to you cannot be repeated outside of this union here, in this moment. Take what you saw to heart. There is a presence that myself and many of the scouts are only on the periphery of knowledge. The king of the Greenwood. At this time, you would know that the Greenwood is what eventually becomes Mirkwood.
Yeah.
The king of the Greenwood has had counsel with a wizard. What I understand is the White Council has met. Something has happened in the Mirkwood. Something happened in Dogledor. And something is happening to the Greenwood. Spiders have come down from the mountains. Orcs, wargs, they have not left fully since the Battle of the Five Armies. Things are changing in my lands. I was sent here to watch for signs of change in the mountain. But day in and day out, I see less change from the mountain and more change from the wilderness this side of the Misty Mountains. If you saw something, if you saw a portent of a future that could be, or an event that has yet come to pass, take it to heart, my friend. Speak to your elders, speak to the wisest in your council, but take heed. The world is changing.
I was quite fearful you would say that. The heart of this darkness arose from the depths of the mountains. If this truly is a vision of things to come, then that means the only way to stop it would be to convince my king to no longer dig in our mountains. But that is a problem. Well, it isn't the worries or concerns of an elf, so I'll keep that to myself.
There are enough gold and gems and fine things in the world already. We don't need more.
Would you ever say that there are enough trees?
You could cover the world in trees and there would never be enough.
Then you can understand, my friend. Never dig too deep.
Well then, I wish you the best of luck seeking counsel. And I would say if another vision or dream should strike you, please seek me out.
I will, if only because you're the only one that I know that would not call me mad. And if you were to strike a blow at me, I know that it is not because of the news I delivered, but because apparently my footsteps are so loud.
I could fell trees and I would still hear your footsteps. That trundling troll.
Did I ever tell you the time I faced a troll?
A dozen times. You and your brother back to back, you punched it to death or something, some such nonsense.
Oh, I definitely evaded its strike and sundered its head. By flinging my
Clean
axe.
off. Right, of course. I don't know if you've made this correlation, Yoldrick. You've only ever told me this story when you're a dozen pints in. Perhaps it's more of the ale and less of the man. And she stands back to her full height. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the two of you double-handedly took down a troll, throwing your axe and chopping its head off, as you have so eloquently put.
Well, my elfin friend, that is clear. That is a clear sign that you misunderstand how me and my kin work. You see, the ale fuels the man. We are one and the same.
That I believe. Well, I'll tell you what. The next time we are beset upon on all sides by wargs, goblins, orcs, trolls, you keep count and I'll keep count, and we'll compare notes at the end of things. If you survive.
It would be nice to fight alongside you, I think.
I wouldn't want to win by default.
You wouldn't.
Well, all right.
Safe,
okay.
safe travels, my friend. I am going to go and do the impossible yet again.
Well, if you can chop a troll's head off in one thrown blow, I'm sure you can speak to a handful of old dwarves. Either way, best of luck.
Thank you. Well, I think I might prefer the trolls. And then he just starts walking.
Yeah. You begin to is whatever you think is the quietest way out of the forest, right? And like when you try to like look by, she's already gone. Never heard a twig snap, a limb move, a tussle of wind, and she's gone out of this scene.
Show off.
Yeah. We cut to a few days later, right? You've had some time to stew and ruminate on the visions and omens and importance that you may have seen in your dream, and try to recall the most important parts of this thing. You've had time to sit and think about what Alma has said to you, and really like more or less bolster your own courage, right? Is like recall the battle cry you gave to the dwarves in your dream, and sort of give it to yourself to steel your resolve for a conversation that is to come.
Yeah.
So it is a few days later. You've had time to rally your own internal forces. Where are you going? Who are you speaking to in this city?
I think he's just gonna try and go all the way to the top. He's gonna try and talk to I think it's Dale?
Dane
Dane.
Ironfoot.
Yes.
So you're okay. Interesting. Okay, cool. You're trying to go right to the king under the mountain.
Listen, Yodrick ain't got no sense.
Yeah. Fuck, man. Cool. I didn't see you going straight to the top.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could alter it too. If you,
No. I don't care who you go talk to. I just was, I assumed you'd sort of work your way up the totem pole.
Nah.
Instead, you Mulan'd this shit right to the top. So you,
Yeah, man.
yeah, that's the chant you're singing as you be a dwarf with all the force of a raging forge. Yeah, you head towards the place that Dane usually can be found, which is the Great Chamber of Thror. He holds council here. He presides over official duties, and much like in those lordly scenes of like Game of Thrones, there's like throng of people waiting for their turn to approach the king. This is not a singular meeting in a back office. You are in front of people. You are in a large chamber. There's a dozen pillars on one side, a dozen pillars on the other side. There are stone, basically stadium, like tiered seating, more or less, going up 4 or 5 rises. And in the upper areas of this chamber, there are balconies that sort of carve out and come into this area. And you can see that on the balconies are shadowed, not like, poorly, like they're like bad guys, but like it's just there's no light up there. As shadowed lords of Erebor. And at the far end of this chamber of Thror, you see tiered on a raised dais above the stone throne of the king under the mountain. And there sits Dane Ironfoot II. He sort of is leaned back into his chair. You see that the gold banded square like crenulated crown that he wears is affixed to his head. His long gray and white beard sort of comes down here. Fun fact: Dane doesn't look like what he looks like in the movie, like at all. You see him there in his splendor, in his kingly regale, and beside him, not a weapon, not a sword, not a mace, not an axe. Beside him, at hand's reach, is a very ornate pickaxe. Some sort of like dark wood, and a very like clean gleaming metal that the axe head is the pickaxe head is made out of. And he sits there taking counsel, taking his kingly duties as he presides over the official qualms, and he stole my forge, he claimed my mine, I marry my daughter, all these things that a king has to preside over. You can hear the muttering around the chamber from people either in the stands waiting their turn, the people in line waiting their turn. You hear like the grumbling of lords above. You don't know who the lords are. You do know only because of the fame that the surviving members of Thorin's party are known to take up those stands. They kind of come and go as they please between here, the Iron Hills, and the Blue Mountains. But Gloin, Oin, Bifford, Bofford, Bomber, Balin, Dory, Dwalin, Ori, and Nori once in a while stay up there. Balin the most common, as he is now a statesman here in Erebor. He is a direct counsel to the king. Are you waiting your turn? Are you barging in? How do you approach this situation?
Oh, wrong. Okay, he's gonna
Love it.
walk in and he's gonna observe the kind of trivial matters. And he's going to stand up. I would have the king's ear for just a moment. There is a matter of great peril that needs to be dealt with immediately. I apologize for my lack of candor, but this cannot wait. Oh, I can't hear you. I think you might be muted.
I am muted. You hear it starts as a simmer, a low murmuring, and it slowly starts to raise as people really understand what you just said. And this rises to a conversation. There's like who is this guy? Like this like who are you to barge in and take my? I've been waiting here. That sort of route begin that verbal route begins to happen, and you can see none of this to you matters. What you have to say is too important for this surface level nonsense. what you focus on and you notice immediately is through the throng of people, past the darkened central area of this hall, you see this very well lit throne, and you see Dane shift to his other side. He sort of pulls on his beard, and you see there is a fierce dislike for every word you just said. Not the words, but how you said them. Dane Ironfoot is a stickler for formality. He crosses every T, he dots every I. There are ways to do things, and you just spit in his face.
Yeah.
The people don't stop you from barging forward. You're kind of in full kit, essentially. And once they begin to realize who you are, there is a little bit of a level of station here. Do you approach the king? Outstanding. You approach the king. As you get probably 20 feet away, guards immediately come out. They don't like accost you, but there are axes placed crossing. Guards sort of half moon. They kind of horseshoe around you. You're not gonna get any further without bloodshed, and you'd be safe to bet it's probably gonna be yours.
As soon as they stop him, he's gonna kneel.
Dane shifts forward. Both of his elbows hit the arms of this chair, of the throne, not a chair, but and he leans forward and just looks to see who has the audacity.
My king, I am Yoldrick Blackforge, and I come to you now humbly and afraid. I was granted vision of a foe, the likes of which we have not encountered since Smaug. And I believe that this one is even worse, as it lies in the heart of our mountain. A creature made of fire and malice lies in wait underneath us. And the more we dig, the more likely it is that we will bring their return and the return of its master. Something vicious and evil, corrupt and clever. I make the recommendation that sir, that we cease our digging until we have time to learn what it is that lies underneath us. Our actions could unknowingly be bringing us closer to our demise.
As you finish your sentence, a deafening silence can be felt in this chamber. All of the murmuring, all of the disquiet behind you of the people that you cut in this line has stopped. All of the grumbling of the assembled lords has stopped. And there is a tense moment in time that you, to this day, cannot be sure was 2 seconds or 2 hours. Only broken by the sound of leather boots clomping their way up the tiered dais up to the king's throne. You see, after what seems like an age, an old dwarf, older still than Dane, long white beard tucked in to the belt loops of the deep red, almost burgundy coat of arms this dwarf wears. Um, he climbs to the top of the stairs. He looks to you, and you can see there is like a very small but pleasant smile on his face as he looks to you, and his eyes look very kind. They're very bright for a dwarf of his age. He leans over. The king shifts his weight and leans towards him. A whisper is exchanged. The king leans back, looks to you. You will await trial in 1 week's time. And he waves his hand toward the horseshoe of guards. 4 of them come to you. There's a moment of hesitation where they wait to see if you will have a struggle.
I think he is gonna get up and stand and take just one step back and go, "My king, it is not just us. Darkness is encroaching the land. Men, elves, they all feel it. They all see it coming. We are no exception. We need to prepare now or we are doomed."
Dane stands up to his full dwarvish height. As he does so, the pickaxe is pulled up from his place and slung over his shoulder. And in this commanding, booming voice, he says, "Blackforge, you will know your station in my mountain. I sit king here, not you. I will decide what is for the good of my people. I will decide what is for the good of Durin's folk, not you. You will be remanded into custody. You will await trial at 1 week's time to discuss the fate of you, and if you're lucky, only you. Take him."
I think as they take him, he's just going to say, "My king, everything I have ever done, including this, has been so that you might still have a mountain."
Bind him in irons and take him.
He's gonna submit to it.
You are bound in irons, both ankle and wrist, behind your back, and you are placed in custody. You are imprisoned within the halls of Erebor. This is the longest week you've had here. Your rations are slim, your visitors are none, whether they have chosen not to visit you or whether they have been not allowed to, you have no idea. There is no intel towards you, there is no information given to you until such time as your trial.
I think for that week, if he has someone in a cell with him, he's just gonna go, "Did I ever tell you about the time I faced a couple of trolls?" And that's it.
That's perfect. That's perfect. I wish I could end right there. That's such a good fucking line to just end to end this backstory on. I fucking love that. Outstanding. Unfortunately, we do have a little bit left here.
He's got more sadness. To
Yeah,
go through.
yeah, you got a little bit more sadness to go through before we get back to the present day. A week passes, you assume, because someone comes to collect you. You're in a place where the sun doesn't reach. The mirrors that light this area don't bend this far. So it's hard to count the passing of days other than the shift changes and the times they feed you. But a week does in fact pass. Eventually you are placed in irons again, this time only your wrists. You, of course, have been stripped of your heirloom axe, any armor that you may have been wearing. You are down to leathers. And you are marched back to the same hall from which you were banished, from which you were first arrested. And as you do, it is a different scene than before. Obviously, you were at a meeting of the average Joe, right? The average folk were here to attest to their king. There are a row of fully clad Kingsguard, dwarven Kingsguard, that you walk through. A stone a stone dais has been erected or maneuvered here at an angle facing the king. You are walked up into this. There is a horseshoe booth, essentially a stone booth on a 3-tiered raised platform, lower than the king's chair, lower than the throne, but still higher than the people standing on the floor. You are uncuffed, and your ankles are bound to the actual stone plinth. There are manacles there, so you can't try to escape here. And as you realize kind of what's happening, that this is real shit. You're on trial. You're on trial before the king. You haven't been given any terms of what it is, but you can only assume it's your fear. It is heresy. You have spoken out against the culture, the lifestyle, the practices of the dwarves in a place where this mountain is the home of the dwarves, and in a big way, and they've only just gotten it back. And the audacity to say, "Stop, let's leave it where it is," it was just too much. Especially for Dane, who lost his. He's only a cousin. He's a cousin to the line of Durin. He himself is not of the direct line. He lost his cousin just a few years ago, fighting for this very mountain. As the weight of where you are and what could happen to you sort of sets in, and you sort of eyes adjust to the brightness of this room comparative to your cell, you realize that there is a second plinth, a second raised platform across from you, equidistant from you and the king. And standing in that, not in shackles, not bound, not disgraced, in full regalia, is your brother Dovid. And for a moment, there's that glimmer, that flicker of hope, that yes, my brother is here to speak on my behalf, to assist me.
All right.
And Dane stands as everyone settles in. Your trial is nearly at its end. We have welcomed you for the final part, Yoldrick. We have had testimony and witness speak against you. It is your opportunity to speak for yourself.
Okay.
Your brother has advocated merely for your banishment and not your death. Though his inclusion that you are elf friend is quite concerning. The fact that you have fallen sway to the guiles of the elves that watched this mountain burn, the elves that refused aid when we called it, spat on the treatises of our past, and only came when the battle threatened to spill into their greenwood, that you would befriend their kind, is tantamount to treason. On top of the heresy in which you spoke 1 week's time in my chamber, in front of my lords. The only reason you weren't executed on the spot was the Council of Balin. And he looks to the side, and you see that same man in red, that dwarf in red. Speak your piece.
Time. Time is master of us all. You say that the words that I said were blasphemous, and in time you will see that they were not blasphemous, they were prophetic. If if you had the chance to tell Thorin to the put that stone down, would you not have? And would your words not to be blasphemy? Time. Time is the only reason that we are here, because I see something that is to come. I am well aware of the weight and consequences of the things that I say here. I have lived my life ready to bleed for our kind, ready to die for our kind. I have lived in hopes only to die in such a manner that my fathers might be proud. You say that the elves abandon us, and you question me because of my friendship with an elf. Can you blame them? When will we learn? Smile came because we dug too deep and we grabbed something that we did not understand, and he wanted it, and it cost us lives, dwarven lives, human lives, and elven lives. Our foolishness and inability to see beyond the time that we are in, to see beyond the past and the present, cost lives. And we find ourselves again at the precipice of the same challenge that we continue to fail. Is our love of wealth more than our love for each other? I am Yildrick Blackforge. I love this mountain. I love the song of this mountain. I live for the sound of metal impacting metal, making the unbendable bend to our will. But if it costs the lives of my kin, then I say it stops. And so should you, if your title means anything to you. And if it doesn't, despite the wishes of my brother, I would have you execute me. I would much rather die a traitor than live marked by the foolishness of my kin who could not heed wise words once delivered. And so, my king, I have spoken on my behalf and submit myself now to your judgment.
The same heavy silence sets over here. And whether your plea has fallen on deaf ears, or whether the people here present in this council chamber have taken heed to this, is unfortunately something you'll never know. You hear those same leather-booted thuds walking down from the pedestal that the king's throne sits upon, and you see this wizened old dwarf, probably has seen the better part of 2 centuries, if not 3, walks towards you. That same sort of almost jolly twinkle, off-putting, little smile on his face. That kind of is that look that a parent gives a child that says everything's okay. As this man walks towards you, he wordlessly reaches out a hand. A guard pulls from his loop the keys, and as he begins to undo the fastens at your ankle, Dane speaks, not in a booming voice, not in a commanding tone. My esteemed friend, valued advisor, has asked to escort you from the city. Take it in. See what we have wrought. This is the last time you will look upon the mountain. And he stands, walks down the carpeted stairs from his throne, and you see him disappear into some darkness, some unlit corner of the Chamber of Thror. The guards begin to file out. 2 of them follow behind Fallen. You are unchained, you are unbound, and you notice that one of the guards carries a large sack, a backpack, satchel, and you are walked out. Fallen walks beside you, not in front, not behind, not leading you, not pushing you, but he has his arms crossed, his hands crossed in front of him, and he quietly observes you as you walk out. He doesn't say anything unless you start a conversation.
I think I'd like to turn to Dale as I'm escorted out. Just say one last thing,
Mm-hmm.
which is I pray that I'm wrong, and should I not be wrong, I wish you the strength of your forefathers when you come to realize the cost of your mistake. And then I'll just go.
Okay. You are escorted through the upper halls. You have plenty of time to look around and see the great splendor that is the city, the mountain, Erebor, as you are led out of the great gates into the ruins, just beyond the view of the door, to the point where if you turn around, you can no longer see it. At some point, one of the guards handed the bag to Balin, who continued walking you. The guards lagged behind. And when you get to this arbitrary destination, Balin, whose eyes you've felt on you the entire time, watching you to see what you may do, what sights you take in, what your last view of Erebor might be. He hands you this backpack, bedroll, your gear, your armor is in there as well. This is like an oversized, overstuffed bag. He hands it to you, and then he motions towards one of the guards. And he looks to you and says, a parting gift, young Blackforge. This, I do believe, is rightfully yours. Given what I have seen in the course of the last week, and especially in the trial today, which unfortunately you were not privy to, this should stay with you, as you are, and shall be, the rightful heir of your house. And the guard walks over and places into Balin's hand your axe. The axe of your father and your forefathers before him, a mark of not just combat prowess, but also station within the familial halls of House Blackforge. He hands this to you, and he says, "There is disquiet here in the mountains of Erebor. I am unable to pinpoint where I feel this sense from, and I am unable thus far to determine whether what you say is or is not true, may or may not come to pass. But I do believe that the Arkenstone was not the end of our troubles. For all counsel I have given to the king under the mountain, these have, too, fallen on deaf ears. Though this sort of punishment would make me a martyr, you an example."
I suppose one needed to be made. It is not my right to take this axe. But I must ask you a question.
Speak.
My friend, Alma Thristle, how did the king find out? The elf.
Your far more equipped and deserving, in my humble opinion, of this axe than those who it would fall to in your absence.
I think I know everything I need to know then. And with that, he's gonna take the axe. There he is starting to well up now.
Young Master Dwarf,
Yes.
if I could make a recommendation from one as old as I to one as young as yourself, head west. I will seek you beyond the Misty Mountains. I don't know when, but I will call for you.
It will be done. And I will leave you with this. Listen to the mountain. Really listen. And the moment that the heartbeat of that mountain sounds any different than it normally does, you grab everything and everyone you hold value in and you get out. I'm not one to advise to avoid a fight, but avoid this one. Puts the axe on his back and he starts to head west.
We see a slowly retreating figure of Yeldric Blackforge heading west towards the Misty Mountains as the Lonely Man theme from the Incredible Hulk movie plays behind him, the piano theme, yeah, as he heads towards the Lonely Mountain, and that is where we end this one shot.
Hey!
Backstory episode for Yeldric Blackforge. We see how he got to Eriador, why he has no beard, and why he is not in Erebor. So there's not
kick the fuck out.
Yeah, get out. So there's no one really to go around to, so to speak. So, Noir, who are you? Where can we find you on the internet, and what are you up to?
Hey everybody, I'm Noir. You can find me all over the internet as the Noir Enigma. That's Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. You can find me tomorrow on Gen Con. I host Gen Con's Table Takes, our weekly news show.
You can also find me Saturday morning for morning ritual. We've got Omnis X as a guest. And please check out my merch store. I've got cool merch in it, and I'm poor, so I can use the money. I'm also going to start putting up custom made stuff like this dice coffin for when your dice are dead to you. So check it out. But that is me.
Hell yeah. Fantastic. That's it. That's it from us, guys. This was super fun. If you are a patron, which you should be, let me give them my spiel. If you guys like what we do here and you want to support the channel, Patreon, link down below. While you're clicking on that link, join us in the Discord, click on that link, be a part of the community, be a part of the conversation. See, you get faces like that. While if you are a patron, you will know already. If you're not, this is news to you. We voted on which one shot for Yoldrick we would do. I am having the cast submit one shot and duo shots, like 2-person one shots, ideas for their character backstories, such as when Glowfram met Willie, such as when Glowfram visited Erebor, such as Yoldrick at the desolation of Smaug. So we are having the patrons vote on these, and then the patrons are helping me prep these episodes on our Patreon private streams. So there will be more of these backstory one-shot episodes to come in the future. So if you liked this, go influence the future of this campaign. Let me know what you guys want to see. And that's it. We're going to get out of here. We're going to do a one-on-one after show, which again, you can get over on our Patreon at the $5 tier. But for now, that's it from us. We will see you, hopefully with the full cast and crew, next Thursday. So from all of us to you guys, bye-bye.
Bye, and I'm gonna fight you, Lightning.